Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. It must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial, and we are coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca, your local Pacific Toyota dealer. Today, Canucks back in action, taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. Before we get to the Lightning, I just gotta say this rain is just taking the life out of me. And thank God we went to play baseball on Saturday, you, me, and Jacob, and a few others. But all three of us went to play. Thank God I got my dog out. Bert was running around the field the whole time, like the full 2 hours. He was just sprinting around. He had a great time. Thank God we did that because he hasn't he hasn't been able to go running around outside much in this rain, and he's still tired. Like, he's still legitimately tired from that Saturday. Like, right now, he's right outside this door. He's just sleeping. All he's wanting to do this week is sleep, and thank God.
It's been miserable, and I don't know if I'm the only one who's like this, but I'm so liable to, if I bring an umbrella somewhere, I'm going to leave it just because I'm not used
Oh,
to
yeah.
bringing it in day in, day out. So I never bother bringing an umbrella because I know I'm going to lose it.
Same here. I don't
And
bring him anymore.
so the game on Tuesday against the Panthers, I didn't check the forecast. I saw it was dry outside on the way to the game. And I usually park like a 10-15 minute walk away from the arena itself. Nice walk around the seawall. So I wore just an overcoat, obviously no hood or anything. On the way to the game, perfectly clear. By the time the game ends, it's pouring really hard. And again, I've got my laptop bag on me. I got nothing to cover my head, and I've got a 15-minute walk back to the car. So I got absolutely drenched. It's kind of a miracle that my laptop through my bag didn't also get drenched. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of used to that at this point because it usually happens a few times a year to me where I don't check the forecast and don't have an umbrella or a proper rain jacket on me. And yeah, I can't wait for it to brighten up so I can go outside again and enjoy the weather, even if it's cold, right? This is the part where sometimes you get days in January where it's cold outside, but it's so bright and you still want to go out on a walk and be out and about. So we need this weather to turn badly.
I got a question for you. Have you started to invest in like really good waterproof stuff in your old age? Because that's something I've gotten really excited about in my mid to late
Well, what are
20s
some
is
examples?
well, like a really good coat. Like, get yourself a really good waterproof coat. Waterproof shoes. No free ads on this show, but we know who we're talking about here. Waterproof shoes. I love my waterproof shoes. Waterproof socks. Like, waterproof socks are phenomenal. And the more I talk about the cabin up north and everything. I really appreciate my waterproof stuff when I'm up there, because when you get snow in your boots or whatever, if you've got waterproof stuff, you feel great.
It's a good point. I haven't really invested in any of that.
You'll
I
get there,
think
my
I think
friend.
the elite rain jacket is what I need to get first.
That's absolutely true. Tillo in the chat said, "Bro said old age and mid-20s in the next sentence." Yeah, a little tongue in cheek, but seriously, like, I didn't care about when you were 19, when we started this, Chris started this podcast. When I was on this podcast when I was 19, you wouldn't hear me talking about waterproof stuff. Like, I didn't care. Who cares about getting wet? Now I care a lot. I don't want to get rained on.
Yeah, you're bang on. I haven't reached that level yet. Maybe when I hit 30.
Jacob, book all sorts of waterproof sponsors. Like, give me a waterproof backpack. That's my next upgrade. And you saying the laptop made me think of that. Waterproof backpack. That's my next thing. That's my next thing I want. All right. Let's talk about the Canucks. Our actual opening segment today is brought to you by our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip the line and not have to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off select food items, $3.33 for select drinks, and more. With the arcade, bar, and street food menu, Greta's a great spot. Make it your spot to watch the next game. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. This is a great. The comments rolling in about my old age comment is really funny. But this is a good one from Christina in the chat. She said, It's not because of old age. It's because you're a dog owner and they need to go out regardless of the weather. That actually might be true. That actually might be that might be the yeah, that might be the move actually. That might be why I care so much about it now. Cuz like my dog's got a really good waterproof jacket as well. I got him a good one, obviously. But yeah, maybe that's why. That actually is that's a good point. Also, I said no free ads. I'll give one free ad. I'll break our rule once. Vessi, Vancouver company. I buy their shoes all the time. I love Vessi. So I'll just say it. Also, our pal Luke works there. So shout out Vessi. Shout out Luke. I broke the rule. I broke the no free ads rule once. That's the only time. That's the only time you'll hear me do it. All right. Harm. Canucks taking on the Lightning tonight. This is going to be an interesting one because in the morning when I was just thinking about this game, I had the idea of, okay, we've had this conversation about Nils Höglander's a healthy scratch. Then he goes in, so Curtis Douglas comes out. Who else could it be? You want Curtis Douglas in the lineup. Do you agree with me that Tampa Bay might be one of few teams? Like if I made you make a list of 5 teams that you would say, I want Curtis Douglas in the lineup against that team, would you have Tampa Bay on that list? Because I think if it was 5, if it was 3, I would probably have this year's Tampa Bay Lightning on that list. I think they're a pretty tough team. They're a pretty in-your-face team. I would want to have Curtis Douglas in the lineup. That's not what the Canucks are going to do tonight, but I did have that thought. Do you agree with me, though, that Tampa is one of those teams you want to have a guy like Douglas in the lineup against?
I think Tampa Bay, I've watched them more than any non-Canucks team around the NHL. And one of my big takeaways watching them play is I think their physicality matches what their opponent brings to the table. Right. So if they're up against the Florida Panthers and they got Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, all those guys running around, the Lightning are tough enough that they're going to respond. And guys like Hagel, they got plenty of disturbers, Yanni Gord, guys that like to mix it up. They got plenty of size on the back end with guys like Chernak, who aren't going to back down. They're going to play ball. But I've also seen plenty of other games where you have a random Kings Lightning game, and the Lightning aren't really that chippy in that type of game. Certainly they battle hard in the forecheck, and they make it hard for you to get to the inside of the ice, but they're not throwing many dirty hits or having too many shenanigans or scrums after the whistles. So I think Tampa Bay's toughness kind of depends on, like, they're not like the Panthers, right? The Panthers will do a lot of that dirty stuff and getting under your skin and hacking away and a little bit of cheap shots. They'll initiate that stuff. The Lightning aren't a team that initiate that stuff to me, so I wouldn't have them necessarily as a top 5 team. With that being said, because the Lightning are one of Douglas's former teams, I thought for that reason alone, you'd be like, all right, give you an opportunity to play against a team that waived you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kayla Chapman in the chat as well said, I'd like to see what Douglas can do against a feisty team. And you obviously made some good points there, but I also did think for the same reason that you did that, yeah, you like your last team, right? Like that's the team you'd want to go get your revenge against. Curtis Douglas not in the lineup tonight. Canucks sticking with the same lineup heading into tonight. I wanted to say this just as we continue to preview this game. I didn't quite realize how much of a tear Nikita Kucherov is on.
Oh, yeah.
Not just this season, but like lately. I saw this in today's Scenes from Morning Skate, courtesy of Jeff Patterson over at CanucksArmy.com. Kucherov's at a league-leading 66 points in 30 games since Christmas. He's got 111 points on the season, 4 behind Connor McDavid for top spot in the NHL scoring race. He leads the Bolts with 37 goals, 74 assists this season. 66 points in 30 games is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you go back to, I don't know if this changed in the last couple of days, but when I looked at it 2 days ago, since the start of last year, Kucherov leads all NHL players in points. Now, I think it was only a 1-point edge on whoever was second. I think it might have been McKinnon or McDavid. But the point being, since last season, he's right up there when it comes to points. And I think what's special about his season this year is he's done it without Braden Point being at his best, right? Braden Point has always been a center. And this year, not only did Braden Point get off to a strangely slow start, but then Point got hurt once he came back and then started getting on a roll on a line with Kucherov. Then it got hurt again right before the Olympics, obviously, which is why Point couldn't represent Team Canada there. And lately, Kucherov's been on the line with Cirelli and Hagel. And don't get me wrong, Cirelli and Hagel are terrific players, but it's different than, let's say, last season when he was with Point and Gensel, where he's got two other elite players on his line. And it just goes to show, even when Point has been out of the lineup because of injury, he is just so special with the way that he sees the ice. And I think what differentiates him from the McDavid, McKinnon tier stylistically is like McDavid, McKinnon, Celebrini. Those guys have the elite speed and they could just barge through the neutral zone, put defenders on their heels. Kucherov doesn't have that type of speed. He doesn't have that type of strength. Obviously, he's got pretty average size. He's the smartest offensive player in the NHL, though. He's the best east-west passer in the NHL. No one picks apart defenses making lateral plays the way Kucherov can. The creativity, some of the one-touch passes. A lot of times I as I'm trying to watch games and understand how offenses attack better, sometimes when, let's say, a player receives the puck on the breakout, whether it's a defenseman or you got a forward on an entry through the neutral zone, I try and predict in my head, what play is this guy going to look for next? Like, who is he going to try to pass to? Is he going to try and what skating route is he going to take? Is he going to shoot from the spot? Kucherov's the one guy that I can never predict what he's going to do just because he sees 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of everybody else. And he's got so many subtle skills as well. Like there was a goal, I think a couple weeks ago, where he received like a rolling puck, and for 95% of, like, it was a bad pass, right? It was a pass under pressure. It was off the rush. Most players wouldn't be able to cleanly corral that and then shoot it properly. Kucherov one-timed it, and this rolling puck not only one-timed it on net, but got it perfectly bar down, and just that mastery of the puck and that control, it was just jaw-dropping. So I think it's going to be a really big test for Vancouver's young defenders as well, from a couple perspectives. One, because Kucherov is on a separate line from Point right now, the Lightning, it's not about what pair are you going to throw out against just the Kucherov line. You've got a second line that has Braden Point and Jake Gensel on it. So you've got two of your defense pairs, if you're the Canucks, that is going to face top competition. So that's challenge one. And then specifically with Kucherov, I think because he's such an unpredictable attacker, because he's so deceptive, it's going to be an extra test of the young defenders' reads, right? DPD, Verlander, Bouillon. How do you identify the threats around you? How do you take away the most dangerous passing seams? You're going to have to be really quick and decisive about how you read and react off of what Kucherov is trying to do. And I think that's one of the biggest adjustments for defensemen, where you're making the transition from, let's say, college hockey to the NHL. And then even when you're making the transition from third pair matchups to top four matchups, is just the caliber of players and how elite they are. Again, if you watch a bottom six line try and cycle the puck, you can usually predict where the puck is going to go next, just based on what options are available. But when you're going up against the Kucherov line, like, anything could happen at any given moment. And I'm interested to see how Vancouver's young defensemen respond to that challenge.
A lot of love for DPD. Speaking of Vancouver's young defenseman, when we brought up mixing it up, DPD got brought up a lot. Quickly, I had a couple things on Tampa and their penalty minutes. Okay. They lead the league in major penalties by 10. The next closest is Boston with 29. So Tampa's got 39. Minor penalties as well is really funny. They're top 3 with Florida and with Boston. So again, if we're making like a top 5 of like the feistiest teams in the league, like I think I'd have Tampa in there, but it's
maybe
it's funny to see how many penalties they've taken just in comparison to everyone else. And what I'm really curious to see, and I don't think I can figure this out by just a couple clicks, is how many of those came against the Florida Panthers. Like, not only just the major penalties, but like the major penalties and the minor. How many of those came against the Tampa Bay Lightning? Like, what happens if the Florida Panthers, what happens if you take the Lightning's penalty numbers and subtract all the ones that came against Florida? And hey, I love that. Like, that's a true hockey rivalry. Game needs more of those. I love it. It's great.
Well, also for Tampa, they'll adjust their lineup. specifically the bottom of it, if a team like the Panthers are on the schedule, right? Where that's a big reason why they would have Curtis Douglas in the lineup.
Yeah.
And they'd also like Scott Sabrin is on their NHL roster, right? And Scott Sabrin, he's only going to be in the lineup if he's going to be fighting. And if I look at the line combos on daily faceoff, it doesn't look like he's projected to play, which makes sense. I think now that they added Corey Perry too, they've still got that element. Again, I think it's one of those things where if Florida's in town, or if there's just a state, how many fights and goals were in that game. I think because Buffalo at that point was pushing for the division lead, the Lightning knew, all right, this is a statement game, and like it's just higher stakes. And so that's when they turn that physicality and that toughness on. I think when they come into town to play the 32nd place Canucks, I'm going to be honest, I don't think they're going to be looking to rough it up a ton, just because they're just going to be looking to get when you've got an 82 game regular season and you had a team like Vancouver on the schedule, you want to get those 2 points without exerting maximum effort. You want to be able to
it's certainly
breeze
not more than
through,
you have to. Yeah.
because it's a long season. You hopefully got a long playoff run coming up ahead for you. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe Tampa turns it up a notch, but even though they've got that toughness and a lot of agitators on that roster, I'm not necessarily expecting a chippy game.
Dan Jardine in the chat with a good comment. He said, also, it's about time John Cooper won a Coach of the Year award. He is so taken for granted, but he's been coaching at this level for a decade, has 0 awards. I'm absolutely on board. I think he should and probably will win the Jack Adams. Like Irf and I did that anonymous poll with execs, players, GMs, everybody. We pulled everybody we could around the league, anonymously, of course, for who they thought should be the Jack Adams Award winner. And I think we did in like November, December. I can't remember what it was. But regardless, Cooper was getting some love there. So was Jared Bednar. Obviously, the Avalanche were on that ridiculous year where they had like 2 regulation losses or something crazy like that to like the halfway point of the season. But regardless, John Cooper, absolutely. It's surprising to me also that he's never won. Like, I know he's never won, but every time I hear it, it seems to catch me by surprise a little bit. And he should absolutely win it this year.
Yeah, although he's going to have some in competition or in division competition, because the Sabres are up to 4th place in the NHL standings. And I wonder how many voters are going to lean towards Lindy Ruff if the Sabres end up winning the Atlantic. They keep rolling 9-1 in their last 10 games.
I know.
It's crazy the turnaround they've had.
Here's a sentence you didn't think we'd be saying on March 19th. Tampa Bay is trying to catch the Buffalo Sabres for top spot in the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's wild. The East in general is very weird this year, where if you're, let's say, in the Central Division, winning that division matters a lot because you're trying to avoid playing the 3rd seed Minnesota in round 1. You really want to lock up that Central Division 1 seed and then play wild card 2, which will probably end up being a pretty mediocre team. And that race has actually become interesting because Dallas won the other night. They're all of a sudden only 2 points back of the Colorado Avalanche. They played an extra game, so that's important to keep in mind. But that race is all of a sudden live. But then the Atlantic, the stakes aren't as high, because I'll ask you this. I actually had this conversation with an exec in the Eastern Conference around a week ago. He asked me, once you get past Tampa and Carolina, it's basically wide open in terms of cup contenders this year, and all the teams could be are a pretty similar caliber, right? Like, sure, you might say Buffalo now because they've gone on this tear. You might rate them a little bit higher, but would you be surprised if, let's say, Montreal won a round or 2, or if like the Columbus Blue Jackets, even since Rick Bowness has taken over, they're like 16-2-4. Their underlying numbers are elite as well. And you look at just how deep that lineup is becoming. Like, as much as it sounds weird to think that the Blue Jackets could like win a round or two, it's wide open. And then you got teams like the Islanders and Penguins. It's just, other than I think Tampa Bay and Carolina, those two being the established cup contenders, it's wide open in the East. And so the rewards for finishing first in the Atlantic Division aren't as high, because the wild card, you could end up playing Columbus, for example, as a potential wild card team. And, whereas if you like 2-3, like right now, Tampa finishes second, they're going to be playing Montreal. What's the difference between playing Columbus and Montreal? I don't think there is much, to be honest. It's far different than, let's say, the difference between playing Minnesota in round 1 versus wild card 2, and that ends up being like a Seattle Kraken or an LA Kings.
Jacob had something cool here.
So you guys mentioned Lindy Ruff. He won a Jack Adams Award in 05-06. So if he wins this year, 20-year gap between his Jack Adams wins. Also,
who did he coach in 05-06? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, he was still with Buffalo. That was the year when they lost the conference final to Ottawa or Carolina, I guess. Oh, yeah. They lost back-to-back conference finals. So that was the year they lost to Carolina, and then the Canes beat Edmonton in the cup final. The next year, they lost the conference final to Ottawa, who lost to the Ducks in the Stanley Cup final. But when you look at his career, it's like he broke into the league with Buffalo, took them to a conference final, took them to a Stanley Cup final, and then had some early playoff exits, managed to miss the playoffs 3 years in a row and not get fired, which is insane. You would never see that in today's NHL for a team that had just gone to a Stanley Cup final a couple of years before. And then back-to-back conference final losses, misses the playoffs 2 more years, loses in the first round 2 years, misses the playoffs. He had such a run with Buffalo where he was able to miss the playoffs in 6 of 10 seasons and not lose his job. Again, you would never see that in today's NHL. And then he had his little run with Dallas that I think most people probably forgot about. A run with the Rangers as an assistant coach. And then we know that he kind of came back as a head coach with the Devils, now back to the Sabres. But he's had go to his hockey DB right now and just look at his season results. And it is kind of crazy to think that this guy got such a long run with Buffalo and then really, frankly, got a pretty decent run with New Jersey as well. Just a couple of years ago, considering what we see around the league these days with short leashes for head coaches.
To add on to the idea of the East being wide open in the playoffs this year, even the Carolina Hurricanes, I think there are quietly some concerns I have about them this season, where if you look at their public analytics, they'll show Carolina as still one of the top defensive teams in the league, and they're doing their typical Carolina Hurricanes thing where they're their Corsi Kings and dominate possession. It's Rod Brind'Amour hockey, we know that. But two things: A, they didn't add a difference maker at the trade deadline, despite having a ton of cap space and having a lot of assets. So in years past, they've been able to add a piece, a couple of years ago, adding Jake Gensel that could give them a little bit more oomph offensively. They didn't get that piece at the deadline this year. And then secondly, if you look at their rush defense statistics, they're a bottom 5 team in the NHL. Now, those stats aren't available publicly, but I think I saw Megan Chaika's company posted a list of the bottom 5 rush defensive teams in the league this year. You saw Carolina in that bottom 5. Meanwhile, a team like Edmonton, we talk so much about Edmonton's defensive woes. They weren't even a bottom 5 rush defensive team. And again, this same person that I had a conversation with last week pointed out his team was doing the pre-scout for Carolina a couple months ago, and they noted, hey, Carolina's given up a lot of rush chances this year. And so the Canes are a team this season where they're not giving up a lot of shots, but when they are having breakdowns, they're usually like grade A opportunities in transition. And kind of reminds me of the Olympics a little bit, where remember how against Czechia, for example, Canada would have so much puck possession. They would dominate in the offensive zone. And they were doing a lot of like low to high and then spamming point shots and trying to get traffic to the net. Carolina kind of plays a similar style. But what happened for Canada is when they would, let's say, have a shot blocked, Czechia would be off to the races for an odd man rush the other way. And so even though Canada dominated the shots and had an overall edge in scoring chances, the rush chances in that Canada-Czechia game were like 7-2 in favor of Czechia, and that's why the game was so close. Carolina Hurricanes have a little bit of that element and risk to their game because we know that like their offense's own strategy, they're just spamming point shots. And so their forwards tend to get caught deep. Sometimes their shots get blocked. And that's something to watch. Is I don't know if they've had that flaw in previous years to this extent. And so like even for the Hurricanes defensively, I don't know that they're necessarily the defensive juggernaut that they've been in years past.
That's a really good shout. And further to your earlier point, and I guess that one as well, when we were talking about other than Carolina, other than Tampa Bay, who in the East scares you, I don't know if there's, certainly not in my recent memory, if there's ever been a year, and I know it's not over yet, but if there's ever been a year where there were so many teams in a playoff spot that weren't in the playoffs last year. And vice versa. So many teams that were in the playoffs last year are on the outside looking in. Like the Washington Capitals, the New York Rangers, top teams in the league last year. The Florida Panthers. Well, I guess not the Rangers. The Leafs. Yeah, the Leafs, like the Devils, all these teams were there last year. And now they're not. And teams that we were thinking, God, what is our look back on season predictions gonna look like? What is that? That is gonna be a nightmare of a show because I don't think any of us picked Buffalo. I don't think any of us picked the Islanders or the Penguins. Yeah, exactly. Or really like the Red Wings, the Bruins. Did we see that coming? Jacob probably said Montreal is going to win the cup, so he might end up being the most accurate one.
I did not, but I will say I think I picked Pittsburgh for like worst record in the East. So
that's fine. Honestly, like at the time, that didn't seem that crazy because the Penguins were bad last year.
Yeah. Now I will say it is possible. I think I was seeing quads. I don't know the stat off the top of my head. Someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this could be, if it's 5 new teams in the East, like the biggest turnover year over year in a conference in history since they've gone to a 16-team playoff, which would be the only teams currently in playoff spots in the East that were in the playoffs last year. We talked about Carolina, we talked about Tampa, and then Montreal, obviously, who made it as a wild card team last year. Detroit, Boston, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Buffalo Sabres all were not in the playoffs last year.
And hey, like the West too. Anaheim's in there now. Utah,
Detroit's got to watch out too. Detroit and Boston, right? They've been in playoff positions basically all year. And at one point, Detroit was in the conversation near the top of the Atlantic Division. Now, all of a sudden, Columbus is 1 point back of that last wildcard spot, and they've got a game in hand. So by points percentage, they're actually in a playoff spot. The Red Wings 4-4-2 in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Blue Jackets, they haven't lost a regulation game in 10 games. So they're picking, like, even when they're losing, they're picking up points. Columbus, how catastrophic would it be if the Red Wings, who seemed like they were safe all season for the playoffs, end up having a last minute collapse?
That would actually, I don't mean to overreact, but I think when you take in the context of what that team's been in past years as well, and hey, we talked about it, Todd McLellan right away, like they lost their opening game and he's in the media trashing his team, and he just said, like, when's enough? Like, when are we going to start actually playing hockey here? And we all gave Todd McLellan a ton of praise for that, but like, if you come up short in the end, I don't know if that group can recover from that. And I'm not saying, like, I get they're still like a younger team, right? They've still got some young prospects coming, but like, do you come back with Dylan Larkin as your captain after that? Do you keep moving on with the veterans that you have in your group right now? I don't know. I don't mean to sound like I'm overreacting, but I think that would have a big effect on that room and that whole team moving forward. I think that'd be a really hard thing for them to recover from. And it's possible Jet Greaves starts for the Blue Jackets tonight, man.
Well, for me, if I'm Detroit, I'm not even looking at Columbus per se, because the Blue Jackets are on such a tear. And again, Don Lucian at The Athletic had a terrific story today spotlighting the Blue Jackets turnaround. And by the way, Connor Garland, since joining them, has like a 60% expected goal share. So it just goes to show what the change in environment can do for players. But I'm looking at the Bruins, if I'm Detroit, where we've got to beat out the Bruins, right? It's 2 of the 3 can likely make it, assuming, I mean, you've got to also stave off Ottawa, who's I think 5 points behind with a game in hand, and their goaltending has been turning. So they're still in it too. But the main team I'd be looking at is, all right, if Columbus passes you, fair enough. Like they're on such a heater. They've been one of the best teams in the league since they made that coaching change. There's not a lot you can do about that, but you've at least got to beat out Boston, in my opinion, to make sure that you get in on one of those last wildcard spots.
Boston has the toughest schedule left in the season, according to Tankathon. S Little Boston, shout out to him for dropping that in the chat. They have the toughest schedule of any team. Toughest remaining schedule, of course. So that could play into things. Quickly, I want to say this, and I know we get a Family Feud. Ottawa, they have a plus 17 goal differential. That's better than Columbus. That's better than Detroit. That's better than Boston. That's better than the Islanders. And it's also better than the Montreal Canadiens. Like, that is wild that Ottawa's in that spot that they're in. And we've talked a lot about the goaltending. And there's even people in our chat right now that, like, I know you're kind of rooting for Brady Tkachuk, which is tough to do. But I kind of want Ottawa to make the playoffs. I want to see Travis Green coach in the playoffs. I think that'd be great. I don't know.
The wrinkle for them too is Jake Sanderson just got hurt. And so that's a massive blow for that blue line. Ottawa all year has played well enough to be a playoff team. Levi Merlinan is their backup. Like, we talk a lot about Linus Ullmark, and understandably so, but Merlinan last year had a .925 save percentage in 12 games. Small sample, obviously, but he was also just a high pedigree young goaltender. I think everybody felt confident that he was ready to take that next step and just be a competent full-time backup this year. He's got like a -20 goals saved above expected, which is just so wild to me. So we'll see. If
860 save percentage.
It's awful, and especially on a good defensive team, right? Like, sometimes goalies have like an 880 or an 875 playing in a really lousy defensive environment, and that's like, okay, well, the team defending in front of you is a bit of a tire fire. But the Senators have been a top 10 defensive team all year long, so that's the bizarre part for them.
They have, as a team, they have an 876 save percentage. Like, imagine if they got not even 900. Imagine if they had 895 goaltending. Like, they'd be an Atlantic, like, division playoff team, not even worried about the wild card. They'd be ahead of Montreal. They would be right there with Buffalo and Tampa, like, pushing at the top of the Atlantic. If they had, like, and that's basically league average goaltending this year. I think it's 897 is the league average right now. If they had league average goaltending, they'd be one of the best teams in the East.
Wild. All right. You ready to get to Family Feud, Harm?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Take it away, technical producer, Jacob Lazar.
Welcome back to another edition of Canucks Conversation Family Feud. All right, guys, it's another easy week. You guys had the Vancouver Canucks last week. Harmon put forward the best first period performance we've ever seen, and you guys cruised to victory after that. This week, you get the banged up Florida Panthers. No Barkov.
Okay.
Let's say that, like, Reinhardt's out and Tkachuk is playing, but he's at like 80%. Okay. And you get 2026 Sergei Bobrovsky, not playoff Sergei Bobrovsky. That's what you guys have on the table.
We should win this one, just like the actual Canucks did.
Exactly. For those of you who are new, Harmon's going to go first. He's going to have 25 seconds on the clock. His time will begin when I finish reading the first question. Harm, if you can't think of a response, say pass. We'll get back to it at the end if we have time. Quads, have you disconnected? I think he's in the process of it. Okay, I think we're good. Something I'm just going to remind you, Harm, just to saying this now to make the reading part easier for me. There's a couple questions asking about current Canucks. If you hear current Canuck, it just means anyone who played on the team this season, because so many guys have been traded. I don't want to have to sit through and name and say, name a player who played a game for the Canucks this season, I'm just going to say current Canuck. But no, it means as long as they played this season, they can.
All right.
Connor Garland, Tyler Myers, Quinn Hughes, they all apply in this situation.
Okay, cool.
All right. And I'm going to give Quads the same spiel before. Anyways, you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, your time will begin when I finish reading this first question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 the highest, how confident are you that the Canucks will have a successful 2026 draft?
7.
Which Canuck vet of 3+ years with 3+ years of term is most likely to get traded this offseason?
DeBrusk.
Name a current Canuck who will make a good coach in the future.
Myers.
Name a current Canuck who will make a good media personality in the future.
DeBrusk.
What is the most important moment in Canucks franchise history?
Burrows slaying the dragon.
Slaying the dragon. Perfect. I hate when it does this. Moves us all around. I'll get you guys back into position. Quads will look up eventually, but I'll tell you your score in the meantime.
How'd it go?
We'll see. I don't know, actually.
Okay, so last week, Harmon went out and went 5 for 5 with number 1 answers. This week, he goes 4 for 5 with number 1 answers. He got 151 points.
Okay, nice. I'll take it.
Nice, dude.
So, Quads, you only need 49 points, but only one number 1 answer available, meaning you might hear the buzzer once or twice. If you hear the buzzer, I will ask you to try again. That's if you give one of Harmon's answers. You'll have 30 seconds on the clock. Now, I gave this information to Harm. I'm going to say for a couple questions, I'm going to mention current Canucks, all right? That just means anyone who's played on the team this year, just because of how many guys have been traded. I don't want to have to say, a player who's played a game for the Canucks this season. I'm just going to say current, but no, that includes Garland and Hughes and Myers and any player that's been traded.
Okay.
Lucas Reichel, if you wanted, I guess. But yes, any player who's played a game for the Canucks this season applies in those 2 questions. All right, you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. Your time will begin when I finish reading the first question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how confident are you that the Canucks will have a successful 2026 draft?
8.
Which Canuck vet with 3+ years of term is most likely to get traded this offseason?
Pettersson.
Name a current Canuck who will make a good coach in the future.
Garland.
Name a current Canuck who will make a good media personality in the future.
Also Garland.
What is the most important moment in Canucks franchise history?
Burrows slaying the dragon.
Try again.
I don't know. I was going to say the 94. He'll play on crunch because I was just thinking of the Jim Robson tribute, but that's okay. You don't have to give it to me. I think I got it.
Yeah, I think you got it.
This is pretty crazy here. You got buzzed once. That was the only one that Harmon didn't get the number 1 answer for.
Oh,
which means you're in good shape. I'm just gonna say you're in good shape. We'll go through
about that.
Yeah,
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. If you missed one, but hey, you didn't get buzzed. Now you're only in good shape if you got some number 2s and 3s in here. That's what we're about to find out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Canucks will have a successful draft? 7 was the number 1 answer. Quads, you said 8. That was the number 2 answer, worth 25 points.
Oh, nice.
Number 1 was worth 32 for Harmon.
We won. We're about to win it right here. Pettersson's 100% the answer.
Canucks vet with 3+ years of term to get traded this offseason. DeBrusk was the number 1 answer. Elias Pettersson was the number 3 answer, only worth 15 points. I think there's some recency bias. Obviously, some people filled out the survey after his big game. Maybe they think, for the 38th time that he's going to bounce back. Anyways, number 2 answer was Kevin Lankinen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's okay.
And then number 4 answer was Marcus Pettersson. Number 5 was Thatcher Demko. So good chunk of people thinking one of the goalies with term will get moved. You're at 191 points, though. You've got 2 answers left here that you've given, Quads. I think you're going to be in good shape. And I believe you said Connor Garland for both of these answers.
Both of them. Yeah.
All right. So let's make it interesting. We'll start with the media personality one because Connor Garland got 7 responses there. He was tied for the number 5 answer.
Oof.
That brings you to 198 points.
Who is number 2, number 3 on
else?
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the number 1 answer was Jake DeBrusk. That's who Harmon
one,
gave.
yeah.
Number 2 answer was Kiefer Sherwood.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
I could see Sherwood being a really good like media personality in the future. Number 3 answer was Evander Kane.
I can see that too.
I could see that too.
And then everyone else was kind of spread after that. Those were the big 3. All right.
Did Max Sassone get any votes?
Did Max Sassone get any votes? Let's look. I don't think so.
He's the only Canuck that has
not.
already stated that he wants to do media after his career.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
He didn't, but hey, you know what? There's still lots of time. He can get there.
If he just keeps coming back on Canucks Convo, we'll help get him going. But like, think about it. Think about when he was on the show, like how easy it was to talk to him. Like, he's like, it's like Max Lapierre. Same thing. He came on the show. It was so easy to talk to him, right?
Which, by the way, we're hoping to get Max Lapierre as a regular guest on Canucks Conversation.
Oh,
Stay tuned for that.
We will.
You will see him more than just than that interview last week. But if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's up on our YouTube channel as a standalone. Absolutely worth it. Okay, quickly, we'll go to the last question here. Quads didn't give an answer for, but Harm, you got the number 3 answer, which was slaying the dragon. That was worth 13 points. The number
BX's goal, number 1.
Well, okay, so the number 2 answer was just general, like the Stanley Cup run. A couple people said BX, a couple people gave like game 5 of the final. Anything that wasn't slay the dragon, I just combined into 2011 Cup run. The number 1 answer was the drafting of the Sedins 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 overall.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Which obviously that set up slaying the dragon. And it set up the cup run in 2011.
It's really funny. There. It's really funny. I couldn't come up with an answer because literally my mind just immediately raced through Canucks history. I thought of the Sedins getting drafted. I knew I had like 10 seconds to play with because I answered all the other ones really quickly. So I was just thinking, and then I was like, "Oh, there's the buzzer." So whatever. I'm not.
The 94 Cup run would have been worth 12 points. That was the number 4 answer. Now, very interestingly, number 5 and number 6. Number 5 is an event that hasn't even happened yet, but it's something we simulate every day. The 2026 draft lottery was the number 5 answer.
I like the creativity.
The number 6 answer was announcing that the team is rebuilding.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Some really interesting answers on this question. So thank you to everyone who filled out the survey. Anyways, I'm here stalling. We know you guys are going to win. The current Canuck who will make a good coach in the future. Connor Garland was the number 2 answer. Quads worth 23 points. You guys get to 221 for the victory. Again, number 1 answer was Tyler Myers. That was given by Harm. Number 3 answer, and this one's interesting because you don't often see the European guys do it, but Teddy Bluger. And I can see it. The way he plays seems to fit with how a lot of future coaches kind of get their start. And isn't he like, he's at least trilingual. He might even speak 4 languages.
I thought he spoke 4 or 5.
Yeah, like English, Latvian, I think he speaks
French, Russian,
which as a coach, if you can speak 4 languages, I think that's a huge advantage that you get. So very interesting answer in Teddy Bluger.
A sneaky one too. I imagine he didn't get votes because people may not actually know this, but Drew O'Connor. Anytime you have a conversation with him, he's a very thoughtful guy. I think he understands the game really well. And I think he's got the even-keeled, humble personality to be able to manage personalities, manage players. And I just think tactically he understands the game. Him and I once talked about like analytics. Like I think he's just smart. He's a student of the game. And I think a lot of these bottom 6 guys, because they have to work so hard to understand the game to be effective in the NHL, that translates really well to coaching.
Very good insight. Yeah, no one said Drew O'Connor, but hey, now Canucks Conversation listeners have been given that knowledge, something they'll look out for, I'm sure, with Doc. Good work, guys. You guys, I think this is at least a 3, maybe a 4-week win streak for you. So good turnaround.
I think it's 3. Yeah, we needed it.
We'll have a new survey most likely Monday. The data is better when I post these on Monday, just because sometimes questions kind of get skewed if things change over the weekend. So look for it on Monday. And yeah, you guys are up to 13-9. Good work.
I've got a Drew O'Connor fun fact. Did you know his girlfriend is like really, really good at crocheting? Like she makes like purses and stuff.
I had no idea.
My wife is obsessed. She sent me this one of O'Connor's girlfriend. She made a purse out of like the tabs off of a pop can. You know what I'm talking about? Like you open a can of pop. She pulled the tabs off and she made a whole purse out of them. Like you can put stuff in it and carry it. It was wild.
That's
Jacob,
cool.
Go find that. If you have
I'll
time.
try.
I guess you might need more information.
S little boss. Yeah, like I don't know Drew O'Connor's girlfriend's name for starters.
I'll go look at my DMs with my wife. Hang on.
Anyways, S little Boston pointing out, 2 years at Dartmouth College for Drew O'Connor. So yeah, he's an Ivy Leaguer, intelligent guy. I think it totally tracks. And it's something you see with a lot of college players. You get some who very clearly were in college to study hockey, including maybe one or two on the Canucks. I won't mention any names. But you get some who are just really intelligent guys that go to college and in Drew O'Connor's case was able to turn it into an NHL career. So good for Drew.
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. Hold on. I gotta text my wife. Harm, you want to talk about Toyota?
Why would you ask me to do that when you know I don't have the ad reads in front of me? I don't even have the script.
You don't remember? I tell you every day all about anyone else.
Well, you should be so good at this that you should be able to multitask it.
All right. Maybe I will. When I tell everybody about our friends at Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You could drive up 72 kilometers on battery alone, enough to get you from downtown to the rink, the grocery store, and home to recharge. Seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style. With its sleek, low and wide exterior and sophisticated interior, it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer during Red Tag days from March through May. Chat, help me out here. What's Drew O'Connor's girlfriend's name? She's posted her stuff. It's not. See, Carl in the chat said that sounds kind of dangerous, like pop tab edges. No. Like it was safe. I think she was holding it and her hands weren't all cut up when she was showing it. It was really cool. Now I feel dumb because I can't find it. Did I save it? I'm gonna try to find it. Someone else must have seen this and know what I'm talking about.
There's something else for anyone else that I wanted to bring up. I want to make sure I find the right name of the source so that I credit it properly. It's on a different subject, obviously. It's not related to purses. But let me see. I can't quite find it. I think it came from Prospect Dawn, but did you see this? Landon Dupont was asked who he models his game after. He starts with Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes and then goes, quote, "A new young stud defenseman, Steve Bouillon. I like him a lot." We already know Dupont is a Canucks fan as well. So as much as we talk about the 2026 draft lottery and wanting to get the number 1 overall pick, 2027 is going to be a hell of a wash too, because Dupont, the caliber of prospect that he already is, and just I'm not gonna lie, it'd be pretty devastating for Canucks fans to miss out on Bedard, Celebrini, and Dupont, 3 homegrown franchise NHL players during a period where the Canucks haven't been good anyway.
Yep. I wrote about that too. That's funny that you brought that up because that was one of my things I wanted to bring up during anyone else was Landon Dupont. And again, Calgary born, but a Canucks fan.
It's awesome. Or, I mean, it could be heartbreaking depending on if he gets drafted by Calgary next summer.
I was going to say, like, he's Calgary born. I think his dad played for the Flames, right? Like briefly. Yeah. His dad played like 2 seasons with the Flames. and then ended up playing in Europe after that. So, but yeah, as you guys mentioned, Canucks fan, not not the same situation as like a Bedard who grew up here or Celebrini, but still, I'm sure every Canucks fan would love to have a guy like Dupont for what he does on the ice and for what he represents off the ice as well, being a Canucks fan, and hopefully has that extra kind of care to the franchise that fans really want.
Okay,
this is crazy too. So just to quickly and put a bow on this. So Dupont's born in 2009, meaning he's going to have no memories of the 2011 Cup run. Right now, he might have some later, like 2013 memories from when he's like really young, but he won't have memories of being a Canucks fan during that 2011 run. And it just is making me think about future draft years where some of these prospects coming up from, especially the BC from BC, like their idea of being a Canucks fan will have only been pain. Like they would have grown up in the Jim Benning era,
dude,
and just watched Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes' careers be wasted here.
Is Landon Dupont's favorite player from when he was a kid Brock Besser? Like, is that what he's gonna say when he's asked about it? It's like, oh, who's your favorite Canuck growing up? Yeah, Brock Besser.
Totally could be the case.
Oh yeah, Thatcher Demko. I really liked him. I remember when he was coming up. Oh my. Okay. Yeah. Now. Wow. Yeah. You know what? The first real wow, I feel old moment was when I found out Macklin Celebrini was 13 when COVID happened. What was Landon Dupont? Like 11, 10 years old? Crazy. All right. I found it thanks to at Adventure Made in our chat here. Her account is called made by _ Noosh, Noush. And yeah, she crochets bags. Like that's her thing. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if she does other stuff, but she like makes she crochets bags. Like that's like her main thing that she does. I just think it's super cool. And my wife crochets. She's not very good at it. She has no problem with me saying.
Well, your
that
wife
either.
catches strays here.
She has no problem with me saying that either. It's actually quite funny. But yeah, the pop cans one, that's wild. Here, Jacob, I'm sending it to you.
I've got it pulled up here. So pretty interesting. She actually made, it looks like a custom like USA one for Tage Thompson's family during the Olympics. She also made a custom Sidney Crosby Canada one as well. So some pretty interesting stuff here. Yeah, just custom crocheted bags.
She's like crossing enemy lines with this custom piece for the Crosbys. Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So yeah, shout out to her. Go follow her account. Only 800 followers. Yeah, let's get that following up. There we go. Anyway. Yeah, thank you for giving me the name of that. I appreciate that, Adventure Made, in the chat. Did you do home ec in high school? Like, did you sew? You ever make yourself a pair of pajama pants? Okay, we had to do that. Was that Jacob? Did you have to do that? Is this just a Burnaby School District thing?
No, I did.
Everyone had to do that.
I did in middle school, grade 6 and 7. I was making. We learned how to use a sewing machine, and then we did some hand stitching. And you got to like order like a kit, and but some of it were like little like decorative pillows or like small stuffed animals, and you actually had like it taught you how to sew it up. I don't know if they still do that though. That was a long time ago.
I liked sewing. I thought I liked sewing, and like my wife, it's like my wife went to fashion school. She has a big ass sewing machine right here. I built her craft room. You've both seen it. She's really, really good at sewing. Like she makes her own clothes sometimes. I found out I don't really know how to use a sewing machine anymore because I remembered enjoying it in grade 8, and then I was like, oh, let me take a whirl at this. I don't remember anything. I don't remember how to set that thing up. She's got her whole wall of threads right here, and I don't know how to do any of this, but she's really good at sewing. I am not though, but I did enjoy sewing in grade 8. I did. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, I can't believe you never did. You did like wood shop though, right?
Well, so I did power mechanics in grade 10.
Nice.
And then so in grade 12 I took auto, and which was just like we had an auto shop and it's just like working on cars and that kind of stuff. Thing is, me and a couple of my close friends were in that class, and we had a teacher that was so laid back and so relaxed that like we could pull up to the class, and like there was a little classroom. Everybody would go into the actual body shop and work. We just get homework for other classes done and just kind of like hang out in the classroom without doing any work. And so I remember term one, we still got like a 90%, even though we did the absolute bare minimum. And then I remember at the end of term one, she was like, guys, you guys are actually going to have to do work in term two. Otherwise, I'm not just going to give you a 90% again. Thing is, we didn't believe her because we also had her for an electronics class the previous year. And that one we actually did work, but we were just like, she's too nice. She's too like, we'll be fine, right? I remember term two rolls around. We do the same thing, right? We show up to class, right? It's not that we don't show up to class.
Yeah.
But we show up and then we just like do homework for other classes. And then that way we don't have to do homework when we get home. And then end of term two, a sheet gets passed around where you can see your like term two marks. And mind you, during term two, she didn't really say anything else to us. I go around and like I was a straight A student in high school.
Oh, surprise!
I checked
surprise.
my term two grade for auto, and it's 10%. And I'm like, oh, is this missing like a third?
A zero?
Like another zero? Did I get 100? And immediately I'm panicking because I'm like, this is my grade 12 year. I know this doesn't count for any of the universities I want to get into. But like I got to do something about this. I don't want this on my transcript. And so I was able to go to my counselor and drop the class, even though we were in like January or February. And yeah, I think the flexibility we had in high school was like different. Like me and my friends like gamed the system in a way where like I was in a program where we did accelerated math and science, I think. So like because of that, we were done grade 12 math and like grade 11. So because of that, and then because of like some other things, including dropping that auto class halfway through the year, I had like 4 classes when you're supposed to be taking 8. And so for half the time at school, like I just had free blocks in my last year of school. It was literally the time of my life.
Dude, okay, again, don't know if this is just a Burnaby School District thing. In my grade 12 year, grade 11, I still had it. In my grade 12 year, they got rid of the free block thing. Even if you had enough credits to graduate, you still had to take courses in my grade 12 year. And I'm sure they've refined it a bit, but like when that happened, I was in baking 12. I showed up, I ate my treats, I loved it, but like if I wanted to just sleep in or if I just wanted to go home, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not gonna come. I get good grades, I'm fine, but I've already got everything I need to graduate. So like, see you later. I've already been accepted to the university I want to go to. Like I'm talking about the second semester of grade 12. They're like, no, you've already got what you need to graduate, but you got to fill it up with electives. So I was in like baking. So I would, you had the schedule. It's like, okay, we're making tiramisu today. I'll go to class. But other times I was just like, okay, I've got what I need to graduate. And like I said, like I had already been accepted to SFU at that point, which is that was my school I wanted to go to. And I was like, okay, I've already been accepted. They're not gonna be like, uh-oh, you didn't go to baking 12 enough. Like, sorry, you can't come here.
I got out of so many things, man. Just by like, for instance, did you have grad transitions?
I did. Yeah.
It was supposed to. I don't know. You're supposed to turn in a bunch of things throughout the year, and you needed
like
it to
the
graduate.
Volunteer work, the voluntear thing.
Yeah, that was part of it.
That was part of it. It was more than just a volunteer.
Yeah, there was like
it was
some
logging
paperwork
physical
stuff.
activity. Log your physical activity.
I think it was also just like making resumes or something, just like practicing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I actually went on the school board website and found a loophole where it was like if you had an independent studies class that would match the criteria for it. And so I went to the vice principal of my school and I had an independent studies class where I actually did sports, like hockey writing in my grade 12 year. And so I was like, hey, like technically this meets the criteria. And meanwhile, like this was April, May, and I hadn't done any of my grad transitions. So I wanted to get out of doing them. So I just like Hail Mary throw, and I like brought it up, and then my vice principal's like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right." So me and my friend were like the only ones in our school that didn't have to do grad transitions.
Oh, that's great. That's really funny. That's really funny.
I was in a similar boat in grade 12. I got my acceptance to SFU, and we had at my high school, we had certain classes that would run in what we called X block, which was earlier than the start of the school day. So the school day started at 8:55. But X block ran from 7:40 to like 8:50 in the morning. I guess school maybe started at 9, whatever it was. And there was certain courses that ran in there, notably a lot of the upper level PE courses. So I hated waking up in the morning, but my last semester of grade 12, my day was X block PE. So I just get up, and this was later in the year, right? The weather was good. So we'd be out playing soccer, football, or softball or whatever. So I'd get my PE first thing in the morning. And then I had only electives after that. I think it might have been, I don't even remember what my next block was. It wasn't important. And then, but my last class of the day was leadership, which was done at lunch. So my day was done at lunchtime for the final semester of grade 12, which was great. So yeah, like I'm with you, Harm. I don't think I did my grad transitions until the end of May, and it didn't really even matter because I was just pulling half days at school for 4 months. Good time.
Yeah, like one of the classes that contributed to it wasn't technically a free block, but it functionally was one. Was I think I had like weightlifting or something, and I actually enjoyed weightlifting, but the school gym was kind of crappy and it was small, and so the PE teacher, I was like, "Hey, I like lifting, but can I just do this on my own time? Like, can I just like go to the gym?" And like I actually would because I enjoyed lifting, and because he had coached me on the high school soccer team, he was like, yeah. So I like never had to show up for that class and would just lift on my own time, and that counted. So yeah, man, I don't think you can get away with as many of those like loopholes and just
Definitely
like
not.
gaming the system now. But
It's definitely not like that anymore. But we took advantage, and the next generation can figure out their new loopholes.
Also, to be clear, I got a 90 in baking. Someone in the chat was like, just so you know, they can rescind acceptance based on final grades. First of all, I don't think SFU was going to rescind my acceptance based on my baking 12 grade. But also, I did get a 90. My tiramisu was
well, you know what? The one thing that this new generation has that we didn't is Chat GPT. Like, I'm just like, what a nightmare it must be for teachers to like, how do you assign kids to write like grade 8 or grade 9 kids to write essays?
Well,
when like AI exists.
I have a few teacher friends, and it really, I kind of like, I wanted to be a teacher at one point. I've talked about this a lot. I think it would be pretty funny because a lot of times you'll have like an assignment or two that's like, hey, you take this home, but then you have like, hey, you're gonna write this essay in class, and it's just nothing like what they actually did before. And you can just go to them and say like, hey, like, what's the deal here? And oftentimes, like, I've had two friends that have been like, I've had kids admit to using it and asked if they could just rewrite it themselves, and it's like, yeah. So then they come in after school and they rewrite it, but it's been less of a problem than I think you would think, because a lot of it is just switched to, you're going to write most of your essays in class now. You're not taking this home.
Good. I think that's an important fundamental skill. And
yes,
I mean, the adrenaline of having like a 6-page essay due the next day, and you're starting like that night, having to do that all on your own, like that builds, that builds skills. And it's important.
Dude, incorrect use of AI is making people stupider. I've written about this. I've talked about it.
100%.
We don't have to get into it right now because we don't really have time. Somehow we've gone over an hour on this show. We were like, what are we going to talk about today? And turns out it was baking.
And we also haven't even gotten to the topic that you made the title of the show.
Yes, we've got an update on the Jack Hughes story. So for those that haven't been paying attention, 2 days ago, Jack Hughes says it's BS that the Hockey Hall of Fame has the puck he scored the OT winner with in the gold medal game. Yesterday, the Hockey Hall of Fame put it bluntly, telling Greg Wyshynski that the puck isn't Jack's to keep. We heard from Sidney Crosby on this, and basically Jack was getting it from all angles, getting dunked on. So last night, he speaks, and this is quite the walk back from Jack Hughes. We have the clip. Let's play it.
Yes, and this was from our friend Johnny Lazarus, who posted this on X.
It's about the puck blew up a little bit. Were you surprised by that, or is there anything you wanted to clear up with that?
No, I mean, listen, like, obviously honored that the puck's there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like the most special place in hockey. So yeah, I mean, I'm honored that it's there, but obviously, I think things were taken, crazy. Like just that's the way I felt, and I didn't know where the puck was. So it is what it is.
Harm, want to defend your player?
My Team Short Kings guy. Yeah, don't worry. That's the New Jersey Devils locker room. Our Team Short Kings locker room has the type of leadership and mentorship to help a younger player like Jack along. He's going to be spending a lot of time with Brad Marchand, Jared Spurgeon, Clayton Keller. He's going to learn from those guys, and we're going to be fine. But yeah, Jack's not getting an A on our Short Kings team. That's for sure.
Apparently the audio was a little low there, so sorry for that, folks. But basically he said, obviously, I'm honored that it's there. It's not obvious. When you say it's BS that it's there, it doesn't really come across that you're obviously happy that it's there. Not really, but anyway. Yeah, Jack Hughes. I don't have anything else on that.
No, I got nothing else.
Yeah, that didn't need to be the title of today's show. We had more than enough to talk about.
You can change it on the podcast so we don't bait people. Change it on the podcast. Yeah,
I probably will.
That's a good idea. All right, last thing. Did you see this last night? A 3-point game between the Calgary Flames and the St. Louis Blues, with Calgary taking the 2 points in a shootout. Wonderful result for Canucks fans.
Yeah, I had quietly been wondering about that. I wasn't too worried, but the Canucks have picked up points in 4 of their last 6 games. And Calgary, after that deadline, trading away Uyghur, trading away Kadri. Obviously, earlier in the year, they traded away Rasmus Anderson as well. They've had a tough time winning games. I think they'd lost 1, 2, 3, 4 of their last 5 before that victory over the Blues last night. And so quietly, the cushion that the Canucks once had, where it was 13 points, was starting to shrink just a little bit. And there's still enough runway over the remainder of the season to where the Canucks technically could have caught them. But it's an important result. Get the Flames to win. Do you know what I'm actually looking it up right now. Back to being a 9-point cushion. Canucks have a game in hand. But see, if the Flames lost that in regulation, we would have been talking about 11 point. It's 11-point cushion now. My bad. We would have been talking about a 9-point cushion with the Canucks having a game in hand, a little bit hairier. But now you feel comfortable that you have enough breathing room if you're the Vancouver Canucks.
Tyson Cole wrote about that today over at Canucks Army. It was a good read. All right. Anything else from either of you?
We ready for Tankathon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, they got the first overall pick yesterday.
Yesterday.
Great.
Exactly.
I'm sure it'll happen 2 days in a row.
Well, we'll find out. Here is the current Tankathon standings. Obviously, the Canucks with their best odds at first overall, 25.1. Now, again, I don't think this is updated. I'm pretty sure based off of what we've got and with the Ottawa stuff, technically the odds are higher than that, like 25.5%. But just the way that Tankathon works, it doesn't really reflect that because they just remove Ottawa. They don't give Ottawa the chance to win and then redraw. So that's the difference there. Anyways, here's the Sam. Another tough look. Jack Hughes with his without his puck, but he's got himself a new line mate. Gavin McKenna to the New Jersey Devils. St. Louis moves up to draft number 2.
Terrible outcome. Hate this.
We can just choose not to do this anymore, right?
No. I want the data.
We need the sanctity of the data, Quads.
I'll tell you, man.
I don't want to just
Bert.
I don't want to just run it like 100 times in a row one day. I want an actual true set of data.
Okay. Whatever you guys say, no problem. All right. Yeah. All right, let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. What did I say last night? What did I take? I don't quite remember.
I don't remember either. Then again, It was you guys had the pre-record final segment yesterday,
That's
so
right.
I,
That's right.
I wasn't there for that, so I don't know.
Okay, well, tonight, this is an interesting one. All right. Tonight, yeah, let's do it. Tonight, the Utah Mammoth are on the road, excuse me, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Utah is the plus 110 underdog on the money line. Vegas money line minus 130. We're taking Utah visitors plus 110 odds over at Bet365. Tired of waiting for the end of the game to get paid? Ready to move on to the next puck drop? That's why Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, they've got 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding goes up by 3 goals at any point in the game, they'll pay your bet out early. Hockey moves fast, and now with 3-goal early payout, there's one less thing you have to wait around for. Bet365, download the app and see what early payout's all about. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Last thing for me, tonight is the Canucks for Kids telethon night. You're going to see Elliot Friedman. I think he's hosting with Olivia McDonald as well. You'll see it on the broadcast. If you're going to the game, they'll have stuff in the arena as well. They do a lot of good work. And yeah, just you'll see it tonight all over the broadcast. And if you're able to, feel free to donate. It's absolutely a good cause, and wanted to make sure we mentioned that today.
Yeah, amazing cause, and always happens this time of the year. It's always, I mean, I didn't go to the rink today, but it's always cool to see when Friedman's in town for that. Great on his part to be involved and actually fly out solely for that purpose and reason to do it. And it's always cool seeing on the broadcast just how much they promote it and how much they end up raising by the end of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. See what we can get to tonight. All right, we'll close it out there. Fun show today. We'll close it out there for my co-host Harman Dial and our technical producer Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Bucrelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.